Good evening. A man reportedly shot and killed his 15-year-old son in an alleged case of mistaken identity at their home in Helshaw, Portsmouth, St. Catherine this morning. According to reports, the boy, who attended Woolmer's boys' school, was allegedly mistaken for someone trying to break into the house in the community of Cave Hill. It is said that his 51-year-old father reportedly mistook him for an intruder. Reports are that at 3:13 a.m., the man's wife woke him up and said someone was breaking in. He allegedly immediately jumped up, saw a shadow, and fired shots. The distraught father later found out it was his son. The young Romarian, Raheem Shaw, was a member of Form 5R at the Hero Circle Institution. The St. Catherine South Police are investigating. Head of St. Catherine South Police Division, Senior Superintendent of Police, Christopher Phillips, gave us an update of what happened.
About 3:30 this morning, the father who was asleep said his wife woke him up and he, indicated to him that there was an intruder in the house. Several shots were fired. After that, it later was borne out that it was his 15 years old son, a student of Woolman's High School. A very unfortunate incident. We have the investigators now on scene.
He had a good relationship with his father. They shared a very good relationship. He's not known to be, a wayward child, and so they obviously weren't expecting him to be out at that time. As it relates to that, though, we are doing further investigation to determine, what could have led to him being out at that hour of the morning, and for us to put the pieces together so we have a fulsome picture of what took place.
Meanwhile, Dwight Pennycook, principal of Woolmer's boys' school, says a small group of grief counselors and well-wishers have rallied around the school community in wake of the tragic death of 15-year-old student Raheem Shaw this morning. The members of Form 5R have been receiving counseling support from members of the Ministry of Education and Youth's Guidance and Counseling Unit from Region 1, supported by guidance counselors from Woolmer's Girls' School, St. Andrew High for Girls, Kingston College, and Camperdown. Mr. Pennycook praised the Woolmer's Old Boys Association, whose members have provided invaluable support to young student population. After spending over a year behind bars for stabbing his own father to death, Garnet Foster Jr., the teenage son of Pastor Garnet Foster Sr., was finally sentenced to 15 years behind bars when he appeared before the Home Circuit Court in Kingston on the weekend. Pastor Foster, who was 45 years old at the time of his death, resided with his son, two other children, and wife at Bullet Tree in Petersville, Westmoreland, and was stabbed to death while he was in bed on July 23 last year. On the morning of the incident, the teen, who is the eldest child, raised an alarm and informed his grandmother and uncle that he had discovered his father inside his room in a pool of blood with a knife sticking out of his neck. Following investigation, his teenage son was arrested and charged and later confessed to the killing of his father on July 26 of this year while appearing in the Westmoreland Circuit Court. Foster Jr. is now 19 years old. Following news of his sentencing, several family members and residents of the community who had condemned the brutal act against his father noted that the sentencing was far too relaxed. Errol Heaven, a cousin of the slain pastor, said he's satisfied with the sentencing, but other members of the community say they believe that he should have gotten a longer term in prison.
That gentleman that had been killed is a great asset in the community, and a lot of people miss him. But most community members right now, they are not feeling good about it. But they say that is too little bit. That should be a life imprisonment. But as for me, we don't want to pass that. I don't want to be that judgmentally. You understand me in regards to that. But we just glad same get some time. You understand me for what him done to him father. Father who care about him a lot so much. You understand me? So that is my view on it, because
All
I
right.
spoke to a lot of people in here who I come across, and it I'm telling you, it's a hit for the community right now. So many people felt it so much because, and that's what I mean, he do a great job. He was doing a great job, I should say. But to take out somebody like that, then you know that everybody, it would be a real hit on this community. A lot of people miss it. Children, parents, everybody miss him. The community cannot be the same and will never ever be the same without Minister Foster.
A total of 21,900 pieces of school furniture will be delivered in the next 2 months as the Ministry of Education and Youth continues to invest in upgrading educational institutions across the island. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams provided a breakdown during a post-cabinet press briefing held at Jamaica House in Kingston today.
As you're aware, we have close to 1,000 schools in operation across Jamaica. When you add the nearly 3,000 early childhood institutions, that will give you a sense of the size of the education system and the demand for things like furniture. So the ministry continues to make major investments in repairs and delivery of furniture to outfit our school system. This awesome task requires a multifaceted approach and partnerships involving many stakeholders. We have adopted this partnership approach with some of our schools, and it has been working well. So that is why the majority of schools that requested desks and chairs received at least a portion in time for the start of the new school year. In time for the beginning of the 2022-2023 school year, the ministry delivered some 6,483 pieces of furniture to infant and primary schools. We'd like you to remember as well that earlier on in this year, our high schools were given $800,000 each so they could go ahead and repair and procure their furniture.
They're being manufactured locally by secondary students under the ministry's school furniture program. The minister pointed out that the Bureau of Standards Jamaica examines the quality of the furniture and provides approvals consistent with their standards.
Under a program called the Select Group Program, this initiative facilitates the manufacture of furniture from scratch by high school students. The projects are carried out under the careful supervision of teachers and at times other skilled persons. The furniture is then used by the school and sold to adjoining schools. And the ministry has significantly increased the resources allocated to the program for the 2022-2023 years. And it's an interesting program. I know I don't have a lot of time this morning, but just to say that the Jamaica Bureau of Standards visits the school sites where the manufacture and repairs of furniture take place. They check the quality of the product and give it their stamp of approval consistent with their rigorous standards. There are many schools that have come on board to do this. Just to name a few: Belmont Academy in Westmoreland, Mushet High in Trelawney, Holland High also in Trelawney, Central High in Vertec in Clarendon, Ocherias High in St. Anne, Arokabessa High in St. Mary, Port Antonio High in Portland, and St. Andrew Technical High and Papine High in St. Andrew. We're seeing innovation in this work that is being done at our schools.
Additionally, Minister Williams explained the progress in procuring e-books for schools.
We sent a schedule to schools outlining when textbooks would be there. Unfortunately, we are also subject to the same supply chain pressures because all the textbooks are printed outside of Jamaica and have to be shipped to Jamaica. We're using e-books for the third year in a row. The adoption is better this year than when we started the first year. We directly send the download link to the students, and that has proven to be more efficient. There's only one download required of the student, and that book will be on their device for the year. We've worked with our schools in order to understand their particular challenges. They've indicated the mix of textbooks versus e-books that they would like, and we have complied with that.
Jamaica's quest to achieve 50% of its electricity from renewables by 2030 will get a $6 million boost with the setting up of the first utility-scale floating solar plant in the Caribbean, with project launch for Mona Reservoir floating solar PV plant. The international partnership, Green Crowd, through its client Derillion Energy, has acquired the development rights to install, operate and own a 45-megawatt floating solar PV plant with grid energy storage system and grid frequency response system based on the Mona Reservoir, which is lined with a specifically prepared compact soil blanket and is the main water supply for the corporate area. A chief architect at Derillion, Simon Piggott, said this project is transformative and confirms Jamaica's position as a regional leader in tackling climate change and energy independence.
The integration of the system on the Mona Reservoir would integrate solar and energy storage and grid stability in one package. This is something that's never been done before on this scale. Once the project goes ahead as its size, which is 45 megawatt, it will be the 5th largest floating solar project in the world, with a project that's combining grid stability, peak shaving performance. That will make it the largest project to date in the world of its kind. As part of what we do as a group, we don't just source materials and source products from other people. We innovate ourselves. So as part of the group, we manufacture most of these products ourselves. We also finance it. So this integration of bringing the cost down, combining a project in multiple elements, lowers the overall cost. The system itself, again, will be 45 megawatt, which will cover approximately 80% of the reservoir, the surface. So the whole centre of the reservoir will be covered. That will save significant evaporation and costs.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, for his part, said that this government has shown that it has the capacity to pursue major development projects and include the people while preserving the environment.
There is always a criticism that if the government is trying to develop something, it is going to destroy the environment and ignore people. We are better than that. This government has shown that we have the capacity to pursue huge, major development projects, include the people, preserve the environment, and improve the general aesthetics so that the human condition and the human development can be maximized. I think the debate that goes on about developments generally should be more balanced and fairer to the government. Yes, we do make mistakes. But what I can say with certainty is that all the projects that this administration has put in, we have considered the environmental, the social, and the governance issues to ensure that the projects are sustainable, that they contribute to the reduction of emissions, to protect our climate, and that they build our resilience to respond to shocks.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samuda, said that this project will benefit the National Water Commission in the amount of $1 billion Jamaican dollars annually.
It is not that we are running away from the grid, because the stability of it requires that we do engage. But we must transform our energy and we must lower the price that we pay. This solar PV plant is but one in a series of projects to come on stream with that end in mind. Years of research and technological advances have shown that solar water pumping is a viable way to save on energy costs. Not only is it environmentally sustainable, but has also proven to be operationally and financially beneficial. Sometimes when people question solar energy, I point them to the fact that the space program is run and sustained on solar energy and has been done so for decades. It's not new technology, even though it continues to advance. Based on the reports, this kilowatt system is already, Prime Minister, bearing fruit. there was a 28% reduction in the JPS consumption for the month of June and a 30% reduction in July when compared to May. Point out that this system does not currently have a battery backup and operates only during daylight, so those savings will increase exponentially as this project is rolled out. Now, the big key and why this project matters so much, certainly from the NWC perspective, and NWC has been challenged and dogged with the implications of bad decisions decades ago. This project, Prime Minister, will benefit NWC to the tune of $1 billion Jamaican dollars annually. That changes Mark's ability to control the NWC, to manage his payments, to implement projects. Prime Minister, that allows us to honor your mandate and commitment to the people of Jamaica and get more people connected to
Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Daryl Vaz, in his remarks, announced that the ministry will grant a license for this operation.
But I'm happy to report that MSET will grant a license for the implementation of this project as soon as the preconditions outlined in the cabinet approval a month ago are fulfilled. As Jamaica's national supplier of potable water to approximately 2 million consumers, the NWC is a very important entity. It therefore stands to reason that the efforts to increase its efficiency is important to us all. A project of this nature, ladies and gentlemen, reinforces the government's commitment to providing leadership in energy and climate change mitigation, which augurs well for our future. It is also directly in tandem with the Jamaica National Energy Policy 2030, which stipulates that government ministries and agencies serve as models and leaders in energy conservation and environmental stewardship. As a country, we are blessed with tremendous renewable energy sources that, once harnessed, will significantly reduce government spend on energy, improve efficiency, reduce our carbon footprint, and further diversify our energy mix. As Energy Minister, it is my mandate and mission to ensure that Jamaica realizes its renewable energy potential through a robust and modern policy, legislative, and regulatory framework. Our goal has shifted from the achievement of 30% renewable energy mix for electricity generation to 50% by 2030, and this project will propel us towards achieving this milestone.
In the meantime, the National Water Commission yesterday officially handed over new water trucks in efforts to provide more water to communities. Chairman of the National Water Commission, Michael Shaw, said that the trucks will help in their response to emergencies such as the recent flooding.
We are now encountering turbidity, particularly in the eastern side of the island, which is St. Thomas, Portland, and to a lesser extent, Clarendon. It is hoped that these trucks will help to alleviate the demand for water when we have adverse water conditions and the annual drought that we are very, very mindful of. However, this is not a long-term solution, as you will well know. Our long-term solution and our mandate at NWC is to get water, portable water, in every home in Jamaica. It is a long stretch, but we are well on that road to achieving that. This is just a stopgap in the interim for those communities that would not normally have the facility. So while there are challenges right across the island, we do have a strategic plan. I want to go on record. Now, we're not just here turning on a few taps and so on and handing out a few trucks. We do at the NWC have a strategic plan to alleviate the challenges that we have in this country.
President of the NWC, Mark Garnet, says these trucks are well needed and the trucking water is a necessary modality in supplying water to the people.
Even though we have turbidity, which is not really within our control, most, if not all, of NWC systems stood up and we were distributing water right through the incident. And so that, to me, is what we call performance and a dedication to serving the people who we have sworn to serve in providing potable water. But again, I don't want to sound too defensive. On behalf of NWC, I want the beneficiaries of the service to speak. Oftentimes when you have water, you don't speak. But you're most vociferous when it is not in the top.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Matthew Samudia, in his remarks, said in the coming weeks the government will be outlining a series of plans and projects that will showcase the new direction for water distribution and supply.
As an agency under MEGJC, the NWC produces more than 90% of Jamaica's potable water supply from a network of 160 underground wells, 116 river sources via treatment plants, and 147 springs. Approximately 70% of Jamaica's population is supplied via house connections from the National Water Commission, and the remaining 30% obtains water from other sources such as standpipes, water trucks, wayside tanks, community catchment tanks, rainwater catchment tanks. And as the chairman would have said, this means as a country we have a long way to go. Now, in the coming weeks, certainly in the coming days, weeks, and months, under the instruction and guidance and leadership of the Prime Minister, we'll be outlining a series of programs, plans, and projects, and yes, cutting a few ribbons, much to some persons' distress, showing what we consider to be the new direction for water, the new National Water Commission, and indeed the march from 70 to 100%. Now, this will take time. This is obviously not going to be an overnight fix. The problems within the water sector are on the back of decades of bad decisions that we are working to reverse. It is on the back of decades of underinvestment that we are investing to catch up with.
Mr. Samudia further pointed out that today's presentation represents 35 gallons of daily distribution of water.
This today represents 35,000 gallons of water which can be distributed daily. This returns normality when businesses are indeed interrupted with water supply. This returns dignity to households when they don't have water supply, either because of disruption or because of lack of connection. The regions that will receive these trucks, Prime Minister, are the KSA and St. Thomas, Clarendon and St. Catherine, the St. Mary, St. Anne, Portland region, indeed Manchester and St. Elizabeth as a block, the St. James Trelawney block, and indeed Hanover and Westmoreland. One of the things that we've observed is that our weather patterns have become particularly erratic. It has made it more difficult for us to plan in terms of what our source supply will be from our water systems. But additionally, one of the things that we've seen, certainly we're seeing in the eastern end of the island, Prime Minister and members of the audience, is that because of the volume of work that you have instructed us to do to bring prosperity to the people, during that work there's sometimes additional disruption to households and indeed to businesses.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness, in his keynote address, said that all the portfolios that form the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation have been doing a fantastic job.
It is a super ministry in terms of size, but it is also a super ministry in terms of its accomplishment. And it is a super ministry in terms of what it is designed to do. It is designed to pull all the elements together to solve the puzzle of growth, job creation, and overall development. And I dare say that it is doing a fantastic job in solving that puzzle. We are seeing growth this year, and clearly no one can naysay the progress we have been making in job creation. The equation of growth and development has a large variable in it, and that is the provision of services and amenities to support the growth agents, meaning the households and firms. This is not an easy job, in the sense that when you look at a country like Jamaica, where historically we have underinvested in the infrastructure. That's one challenge. The other challenge is that the investments that we have made in the infrastructure have not always been wise or coordinated investments. So we end up with challenges. For example, we end up having communities spring up in areas where it is almost impossible for a utility to serve. When many decades ago we should have strongly enforced settlement policies, strongly enforced building policies, so that we would not have communities springing up unplanned, unstructured. And then now we have to turn around and say, all right, let us expend the capital to bring water to communities that are distant, communities that are in areas that are difficult, communities that are in areas that are at potential risk of climate change events, and communities that are so widely dispersed that the economic cost of bringing the water is so great that it would be a burden on the taxpayer.
Mr. Holness further added that his directive to the ministry is one that is of transparency to the public in order to counter the tide of negativity, and that there is a strong effort by the government in building resilience.
The direction that I've given to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation is that everything that we do, we must ensure that the public is aware, because we must counter the tide of negativism that is being deliberately spun and fed to the public to craft an outlook and a narrative of doom and gloom. I want you to bear in mind, I am having this handing over ceremony as we have been skirted by a tropical storm. Thank God we have been spared the worst of it. Nevertheless, we have had a significant downpour of rain, and it has been widespread right across the country. I will be getting a full and detailed report later on, and I will make an address in Parliament as to the extent of the damage. And I'm certain that there have been families and businesses that have been dislocated, and the government will move very quickly to respond. But I want the Jamaican people to bear this in mind, that it is now almost a routine that for the last 4 years around this time, we have had a severe weather event that has caused serious flooding. But what has happened? Has the Jamaican state failed to respond? No. Did the economy shut down? No. In fact, I'm here today handing over trucks after serious rainfall that would have inundated Kingston and other parishes and town capitals in the country. There is a strong effort by this government in building resilience in our economy. Resilience. The capacity to respond to external shocks and to recover quickly and get on with the business of governing the country.
And those are the stories making the news this evening. I'm Nicole Hales. Thanks for watching.